yourself, and because we'll include that in the recording this morning as well. But thank you all for coming. I'll turn it over to you, and if you need anything, I'll just be out on the other side of the door.
Okay. All right. We can start. I don't care. That'll be good. My name's Kathy Walters. I've been working with Home Instead for a little over 12 years. I started out as a caregiver. I had been doing this type of work for 18 years now, taking care of my grandma, and I worked in a nursing home. Everybody there had dementia, Alzheimer's, which of course everybody's a little bit different. So just about 3.5 years ago, they've asked me to be a supervisor, and what I do mostly is go around to each of the homes and check, see how things are going. We try to visit our clients at least every 3 months, sometimes sooner, see if there's any changes, anything different I need to add, to see if they're happy with their caregiver, to see if there's anything else that the office can do for them. And I'm there for our caregivers if they need a little bit of help with, I can't get this person in the shower. So I go and I do showers, and sometimes I just do caregiving. They call me up, hey, somebody called off, can I get you to do this? And I do the shifts. I was expecting Nick to be here today. I only found out about 20 minutes ago that I'm doing the talk, so that's why I'm not completely with it here. I'm gonna pass these out, okay? The first page tells you a little bit about what Home Instead has. Okay, so you can just write on those if you want to. Did you want one, sir? Okay. And,
Thank you.
all right. Some people just ask us to be there, and usually it's families that have maybe their mom's up here and dad just passed away and they live out of state. Okay, you have sons and daughters that just can't get back here and take care of mom. So sometimes they just want what we call companionship. Okay, basically you're going to be there to help them around the house a little bit. We do vacuuming and dusting and cleaning and cooking, and sometimes they just like to have somebody there to help them cook, take them for a walk, make sure they're taking their medication, drive them to the store or go to the grocery store for them. That's what we call companionship, okay? Personal care, we go totally out as far as we don't do any kind of care that a nurse would do. We can't do that type of stuff. Like if there's a bad wound, we can't go and care for that. But as far as giving people showers, baths, if they have incontinence issues where they need cleaned up and everything. And that's one of the things where we really try to make them feel comfortable. Hey, this happens to everybody. You know, you're gonna reach an age where you're gonna be like that too, you know? And yes?
I don't mean to interrupt, but if you don't do nursing, but if somebody, you're there and somebody takes their pills at noon, can you help them take their pills? Or remind them to take their
We
pills?
remind them to take their pills. The thing is, what we can't do is if they're in a bottle, if they're in prescription bottles, we can't take them out of them and say, oh, okay, this is what you're supposed to take, this is what you're supposed to take. If you have them in, they have those pill carriers that
Yeah.
has the days in there and the medications in there, yes, we could take them, we'll put them in their hands, or we put them in, some people take it in applesauce or yogurt or whatever, you know, and we always watch to make sure that they don't,
What's the difference in
drop
why,
any.
why can't you take it out of the bottle for them if they're supposed to have it?
because if there is an issue where they didn't take their medication, or it was like, okay, they got 2 pills instead of 1,
Okay.
or, you know, we are not nurses, so we can't say,
Okay.
yes, you're taking this today, you're not taking this tomorrow, whatever. So we're not allowed to do that because we're not in a nursing type, you know, thing there, okay? The meal preps, and the thing is, we try to let the client do as much as they can on their own. Even if it comes time to do laundry and stuff, you try to get them, how about, if it just is something as simple as folding towels, okay? Could you fold the towels for me while I do this here? With cooking, some people are not allowed to use the stoves and that, but you can give them, can you fix the salad? Well, you know, you tear up the lettuce and we'll put the salad in a bowl. give them things to make them feel important and like they're still doing something. Nobody wants to be, well, I guess there are some people that like to be waited on constantly, but nobody wants to feel like they can't do anything anymore or they're useless. And the same with even when we give them a shower or a bath, and we want to assist to make sure they don't fall, help them get into the shower, certainly help them, you know, when it comes, make sure everything's safe and dry and whatever, but let them do the things themselves that they can. But I might put soap on the washcloth and hand it to them, and then they can do everything that they can on their own. Of course, they can't get their back very well, so you reach their back, you do their legs, and you always ask, is this okay? I'll get your back for you, or do you need me to do your legs? You don't just want to jump around and do the things, you know? Okay, so we try to give them as much of their responsibility of their own. And we also like to give them a lot of privacy. We have clients that, no, I don't want anybody in the bathroom when I'm showering. The thing that we really try to stress for them is, please don't take a shower when nobody's here. Don't try doing it, you know, late at night or whatever, because when there isn't a caregiver there or there isn't a family member there. Because even if you want your privacy, that's fine. We'll help you get into the bathroom. We'll shut the door. Usually we leave it open a little bit so we can hear better. And we'll stand out in the hallway or stand in the other room. But if there's a thud, we want to hear that, you know? And then we can make the call and we can go in. But we really stress, don't take the showers when someone's not there. I mean, it can happen with any one of us. It doesn't. A 20-year-old can fall in the shower and get hurt. It's just good to have somebody there when it is. Transportation. We can transport clients. Some clients want us to use their car, and as long as they're comfortable with that, and we can drive their car, that's fine. If we use our own car, the girls do, they do get mileage. And honestly, I can't tell you amount-wise, as I don't know what the amounts are for certain things that, you know, they will charge you for mileage.
If one of your clients owns a Corvette,
Well,
does that qualify?
I don't think I'd want to let someone drive my Corvette. Like that. They might enjoy that too much. Oh, we're gonna take the long way, the scenic route here.
You see what he wants.
Okay, end of life care. We've had numerous clients that are on hospice. Now, we are not hospice, but we will be there and we will care. And to be honest with you, that is one of the times I love being with our residents, you know, with our clients. And not just for them, but to be able to take care of them and do for them, but for their families, to give them the support that they need, to give them a shoulder to cry on if they need to pray with them, to give them some knowledge as to what to expect and try not to be as fearful about it if they know what's going on and what they can expect with it. That's a great part of our thing, you know. We just need to make sure that they're as comfortable as they can be. You know, the people sometimes have to have catheters and we empty the catheters and, you know, doing the change, you have to shift them back and forth. We don't want the bed sores. And anything that we find or that we see that's going on, we let our office know, you know, that information too. Because when we go into a client, when somebody calls and says, oh, okay, you have this shift, you're going to this particular client, we can look up exactly what it is. We have what's called a care plan. It tells us how old they are. It tells us what their diagnosis is, what to expect when we go into the house. It tells us if there's any animals in the house. It tells us what the client likes to do, how many children they have, if they have grandchildren that live nearby, people that like to come and visit often, you know, what the client enjoys doing. They like to watch. We have one client that likes to watch the Weather Channel. So it's like, get ready to be bored, you know, but it's like, you're doing it that way. And the same with, like, we've had caregivers that'll say, they're roasting there and they want to turn something on. It's what the client wants, and it's their home, and they're the ones that need to be comfortable. And we've got to remember the whole time, it is their home. We respect it as their home, and they make the decisions, okay? As long as they're not anything where they could possibly get hurt, of course, and we'll do that. There's the list here that you can see, we definitely have a lot of experience with Alzheimer's. We have a lot of experience lately. We've been getting a lot of people with Parkinson's, and we're very careful to have the girls go in that have been there before, or maybe I will go in with them and show this is what we're doing. You have to be directly behind them. You cannot leave them for a moment. You have to guide them to sit down so they don't plop down hard. I've done so much of this, and it's one of the things that I love too, is going and helping our caregivers that aren't as experienced. So even if I have to go a couple days in a row, and we do have classes for them, like we have videos that are online that they look at that tell them a few things, how to do a transfer from somebody from a wheelchair to their chair, or from the bed. Some people use transfer boards, some people just can stand up in their walker and they have to pivot, but you have to be right there and help them and make sure they get back down nice and easy. But we do that training, and we're just going to, we used to have it where you had to go for a couple of days with training, we had a nurse and we had another caregiver that was there. We're starting that up again to where we have hands-on. We do have hands-on in the fact that I will go to their houses and I will show them, this is how we get them into the shower safely. I have worn clothes that I know are gonna get wet. I've gotten into showers with the client and I get wet and have to change my clothes, and that's fine. You know, I do whatever it takes to have them safe and for it to work well, and to try to train the other girls this is what needs to be done and this is how we do it. The other paper that you have there is about, it says defining the differences. What this is we realize that not everybody wants home instead. You're probably not going to call, oh, okay, and you're gonna call home instead, and that's it, you don't even look anywhere else. Everybody wants to be like, okay, I wanna make sure, you know, this is getting paid, or I'm not doing, you know, and you work yourself around. These are some of the questions that you should ask, okay? What safety precautions do you have in place to minimize the risk of infection? We have a couple of our clients that have some major issues where they're very concerned about having any illnesses in the house. You can't go in. If you are sick, if you have a sniffle, even that, a cough, they call the office and say, I don't feel good. I woke up this morning and I'm coughing. And they have to go and get another girl to go in because we don't go into those homes. Or that, you know, I mean, you can wear a mask. If they ask us to wear a mask, we'll wear a mask. We always have those, okay? We definitely have our gloves on. Everybody has gloves, we wear them. But the thing is, I totally lost my train of thought of what I was gonna say about that. Anyway, so we definitely have those precautions where, you know, we're very careful. But even little things like, you know, when we go into the home, that's one of the things that we inspect. Okay, you have all these throw rugs here. You have a person with Parkinson's trying to walk with a walker. These need to be picked up. We go into the bathrooms and we look them over and we say, you should have a grab bar here, you know, to make it safer for them to get into the shower. You need to have on the toilet, you need to either have a high-rise seat or you need to have the handles there so that when they sit down, it's easier for them to get up and get down. So that's one of the things Nick will look at if he goes in, or we have Hope, is one of the girls that comes in and she signs people up. They also, very often, I am sent as one of the first caregivers to go into a place, and that's important because even though Hope and Nick know a great deal and they know what to look at, if you haven't been a caregiver, some of it you may not see, you may not catch. And I have a few things that I can ask or that I know. And anytime we find something that's a little bit different that needs to be added, we call the office and they put it in the care plan. And they work it out, but they talk to the family members. What screening do you do for your care pros go through? We have a great deal of screening. They come in, we run background checks, and they have to take we test for drugs, we test for all that stuff, okay? We make sure that these girls we check their previous employers or whatever that's going on, if they have any experience whatsoever. What's really wonderful is we have some that are CNAs or that are going to college to be a nurse to begin with, but they're here to supplement, you know, their income for a little while. I talked about what training they receive, okay? How long does it take to get a consistent schedule? That's one of the things that some people get a little bit concerned about. I need 24-hour care, or I need somebody here 7 days a week. Well, we don't have caregivers that are just sitting around waiting for a job. So what we might have to do is your first week or two, you might have 3 or 4 different caregivers coming in. And I realize that sometimes that's difficult when you have a dementia person, because they need to get used to people. You know, they don't want strangers in their house. But they try. Our office is wonderful. The staffing, I love them. They're not only good for the clients themselves and their family, but they're good for the caregivers. They work with us, you know, like, oh, I have kids that are in school, so I can't get, not me, I'm too old. But if they have, you know, I can't start until this, I'd like to have a 10 o'clock start time. And they work with us, and they're wonderful with it. And if anybody calls off, we have overnight that you can call, and they get staffing done like right away. Somebody calls at 6 in the morning, I'm getting phone calls, and other people are getting phone calls, hey, can you work, can you work, can you work, we need this, we need somebody to be there at 7, we need somebody to be there at 8. They really are wonderful with that. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. Do you have a setup whereby you're not looking for home care every day, 7 days a week, but like for someone like me who needs to get back into work, I would, like 1 day every other week, is something like that possible?
That is a little bit, probably not. What they basically do, they want a 20 hours a week, I believe is what their minimum is. But all honesty too, this is something, Nick's name's on here, his name and his phone number are here. You can call and ask any real specific questions that I'm not 100% able to answer. But yeah, they don't like 1 day this week and 1 day next week. They want a little bit of consistency, because for one thing, it's hard for us to get our caregivers, you know, to say, okay, you're gonna work Monday and Tuesday this week, but next week they want you on Wednesday and Friday, and then, you know, you're not gonna have the same people. It's gonna be difficult for them to schedule. So they'd like to have it, you know, scheduled a little bit easier. And they are 4-hour shifts. You know, you can't say, I only need somebody for 2 hours. It's a 4-hour shift, mostly because the girls, when they travel a half an hour maybe to get to the job, and they're only gonna be there for 2 hours, and they only get paid for 2 hours, and they spend more money with their gas going back and forth. So that's one of the reasons where they have the 4-hour limit there. How often do you check with your clients? That's me. I go, and I mean, but the office does also, they check in, and we encourage family members and the clients to call the office. You have any issues? Call. If there is a caregiver there that you just isn't a good fit, call and tell us that. Now, I go in, I try to do it every 2 to 3 months. I can get a little behind when I'm doing caregiving, we have people calling on, but that's what we try to do, and we talk to both the client and we talk to the caregiver to make sure things are going well, and if there's any questions or there's any things. But sometimes it's difficult. I usually tease and say, I'll have her go out in the other room and you can tell me how she really is, you know? But the thing is, you don't even really have to have a reason. You can just say, it just doesn't feel right, or it's not a good fit. But we also encourage that if they're doing something wrong, we need to know. We've had clients say, well, she was doing this, but I didn't want to get her in trouble. Well, we need to know, because Homestead has a good reputation. We have good caregivers, we have a good office, and we really try to make everyone happy with what we're doing. So if somebody's not doing their job and you let it slide, then you might be talking to your friends though and saying, no, don't get them. And it can go on from there. So we appreciate any feedback, you know, whether it's good or bad, because it's not like we're gonna say, okay, you're fired, you're gone. But we talk to them, we try to work it through. I show up a lot more often, whatever. So yeah, we really work and try to do that. What care technologies or tools do you have available? I have no idea. Okay, so I don't know what that question is, so I can't really answer that one, and I'll just let that go. But Nick's name and his phone number is there, that's his, where you can get directly to him. He was the one that was supposed to do this talk today. So I don't know if anybody has any other questions or any thoughts or,
I just had a comment. I had a patient with Parkinson's I recommended to Home Instead, and the wife decided to put him in memory care. And he was there 1 month in memory care. He fell, went to the hospital, and he passed away last Monday. So I know that wouldn't have happened if it was in the home one-on-one care. And I know that you guys are very good with that, and you're right there with the patient, and that makes a huge difference, because we hear that a lot.
I know, and it's so
They
sad.
fall, and that's it, they can't recover.
Right, and it's sad that we've had a few clients that have fallen, and I have to admit, it was when we're not there. You know, it's when the family's there, or, you know, whatever. The majority of the time, if anybody falls, it's not with us there, and I'm not saying that never, ever happened. But, you know, and we're even taught how to do a soft fall, how to, you know, like if you're walking behind somebody and their knees give out, and if there's somebody like, you know, way more than you do, it's kind of hard. You basically are gonna go down with them together, and your main thing is to make sure their head doesn't hit anything. And then, you know, we call, and sometimes we've even had, if they're close enough by, the people from the office have come up to help. Okay, let's help get him back up in his chair, as long as we know they haven't hit their head, or there's nothing else going on, or whatever.
I think Nick said you had 128 caregivers,
That sounds about right. I know
That's a
it's over
lot.
100.
just with the Oakmont office.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But you do have to
That's a
realize, some
lot.
people have 24/7 care, so
Yeah.
that's at least 3 different caregivers a day, you know, like for the week. So they have to have 3 caregivers that are there on their own, and then there's the weekends, because, you know, some people just don't wanna work the weekends, or whatever. But that's another thing that's wonderful about them. We've had people call and say, I need somebody for my dad tomorrow. He's coming home from the hospital tomorrow. And the office finds them. I mean, they really, really are good at getting those phone calls out there and getting those girls in there. And like I said, it may not be the steady person that you're going to have further on down the line, but I've always said I wouldn't want their job for nothing. To have to go get, every time somebody calls off, or a new person's coming, and you're trying to figure out, okay, who can go there and who can do this, I wouldn't want that job for anything. But my job, I absolutely love. I love Home Instead. They're wonderful, the staff is wonderful, they're all just, you know, and I don't think there is a client that I go into their home that I don't get a hug. I hug them all the time, that's me. You know, and it's like, seriously, I just love them, and I love my job, so it's great.
How high is your turnover?
We don't have much turnover. Your turnover.
Turnover for your caregivers?
We have some that have been there 14, 15 years. We have quite a few that are that way. I've been there 12. Like I said, I've been working at other places too. But once in a while, you'll have a younger one come in, and then they'll be like, this just isn't for me, you know? But it's not like we're,
I figured probably the first 6 weeks is a shaking out period for something new.
yeah, no, I mean,
But what's nice is you have depth, so if you do have those call-offs or people stepping away, you can fill the gaps much easier.
right.
And one thing I like about Home Instead is when Nick went and visited a client, just came home from the hospital, they said, well, we're okay, but I don't understand what this diet means. More protein, this and that. So Nick called me, and I went out and consulted with the patient as he got out of the hospital, and I only needed 1 time with him. And then he just thrived. So it's not about, they want to take care of you where you are, and not interfere. So I thought that was really gracious,
Mhm.
because Nick didn't have to look outside. He probably could have gone to Kathy, go talk to them about protein, you know. But he wanted to get the quality for the
Yeah.
patient.
Right, and just about anything they might have a question about, we
Yeah.
have something we can, we can look up
Can
or
look
we
up.
can call
Yeah,
and talk to somebody
yeah.
and get that information.
And Nick's always going to Encompass, I want to call it Health South, all the places like short-term rehab, the hospitals, and making the connections so that that is smooth with the care transfer.
And even our
people.
clients that have been at home and then for some reason or another they're in the hospital,
Mhm.
Nick goes and
They'll
visits
go.
them there.
Yeah.
I've gone and visited people in the
Yeah.
hospital, and to find out how they're doing and when they're coming back, or if they're coming back, they may have to go to a rehab,
Mhm.
and he checks with that too.
Yeah.
So it's not like they just like, oh, okay, they don't have them anymore, and they're
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah, they really care.
We have lifetime, I have a family I took care of the past, but their children, I still talk to, we still send Christmas cards, we still talk about them, we still, you just get that connection, their family.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
love it,
that's so
I
neat.
really love it.
Mhm.
Okay, teams don't have any more questions, I don't know what time it is,
Anybody
I don't
else?
have
I'll
to go for
stop
the full
talking.
hour, do I?
No, whenever you're done.